Chapter 753. Jiang Taichung frowned his eyebrows after hearing Lu Ming's rebuttal. Lu Ming, you're right. The Heavenly King monument does not forbid killing. Their deaths are due to their incompetence. However, let me ask you, have you ever said that one person is equivalent to an ancient family? Wang Yan stood in mid-air as purple flames flickered around his body. A terrifying temperature was emitted from his body. The people nearby backed away as they could not stand the terrifying temperature. Yes. Lu Ming's reply was simple and clear. Ha ha ha, ridiculous, this is ridiculous. Wang Yan burst out laughing as his eyes glistened like two tiny suns. How foolish and ignorant. Do you know what an ancient family represents? You dare to say that one person is comparable to an ancient family? How shameless. That's right. You think you have some strength, so you're arrogant. However, you're just an ignorant fool. No matter how strong your strength is, you're only a martial emperor. A martial emperor can only do menial tasks in an ancient family. There are many ancient families that can kill you. Any one of them could suppress you with a single palm strike. Jiang Taichung let out a hollow laugh. Just because I can't do it now doesn't mean I can't do it in the future. Lu Ming's eyes were firm and full of confidence. The future? You're just a martial emperor realm cultivator. Let me tell you, the Heavenly King ranking is just a child's game in the eyes of the true geniuses of the Eastern Barren Territory. The real competition between the geniuses of the Eastern Barren Territory lies above the martial emperor realm. The battle of luck in a year's time will be the real battlefield for the geniuses. You guys are not even qualified to take part in it. Wang Yan's voice was filled with disdain. Wang Yan, why waste your time talking nonsense with them? I'll let them know how tiny they are before an ancient family. They're not even comparable to ants. Jiang Taichung took a step forward as a terrifying aura burst out from his body. It was as if countless swords were gathered on his body, emitting sharp glows. Each of the glows was like a sword that pressed down on Lu Ming and the others. At this moment, Lu Ming and the others' bodies violently shook. Their protective true essence was completely useless, and they were directly pierced through by that sharp light. It was as if their bodies were about to be pierced through. Strong, too strong. Jiang Taichung was definitely not an ordinary Sea of Soul Realm warrior. He had already walked very far in the Sea of Soul Realm. No matter how strong Lu Ming and his crew were, they were only martial emperors. The difference between them was too great, to the point that they had no chance of resisting. No matter how strong a martial king is, in front of absolute strength, he is still an ant. Jiang Taichung looked down at the crowd with a cold and indifferent voice. I'll kill you in the battle of Providence. Lu Ming let out a long roar. The four-colored concept revolved around him as he did his best to resist. You want to kill me in the battle of Providence? Jiang Taichung sneered, and the aura on his body became even stronger. Wang! At this moment, the heavenly monarch tablet above Lu Ming's head suddenly trembled and emitted a resplendent light. At the same time, the heavenly monarch tablet above Xian Yanqing, Kong Jin, and Kenfei Ryu vibrated and emitted a resplendent light. The light from the four of them gathered together. At this moment, the heavenly monarch tablet behind the four of them emitted a brilliant light as well. A giant heavenly monarch tablet suddenly appeared above Lu Ming and his crew. Bang! The heavenly monarch tablet's illusionary figure shuddered and dispersed Jiang Taichung's aura. Jiang Taishu took a few steps backward and stared at the giant heavenly monarch tablet with an unpleasant expression. Their suppression had caused the heavenly monarch tablet to react. A terrifying aura burst out from Wang Yan's body and pressed forward. However, he immediately followed Jiang Taichung's footsteps and was knocked backward. Protection of the heavenly monarch tablet, humph. Jiang Taichung harumphed coldly. Consider yourself lucky this time. Lu Ming, if you are really confident, head to the Nine Dragons City in the Tianwu domain. At that time, you will understand the true strength of the ancient families. You will also understand what it means to be a true genius, and how insignificant you are. Wang Yan glanced at Lu Ming and his crew and said flatly. Then, he turned around and disappeared with a step. Jiang Taichung also turned around and left. This time, they did not really intend to attack Lu Ming and his crew. Just as the crowd had guessed, with their cultivation, they could suppress Lu Ming and his crew with one hand. The difference between them was too great. If they attacked, they would end up with a reputation of bullying the weak. They only wanted to intimidate Lu Ming and the rest. They wanted to let them and everyone else understand the dignity and power of the ancient aristocratic families. At the same time, they wanted to prove their strength. No matter how strong a martial king was, he was still a martial king. They were also below the age of 30, but they had already gone far beyond the martial king level. Now that they had achieved their goal, they naturally left. Humph, what's so great about being in the top 100 of the list of top 1,000 talents? Sooner or later, I will surpass them one by one. Kong Jin snorted unhappily and took out a lamb leg to chew on. I wonder how many roasted lamb legs and barbecued meat this guy has stored. Lu Ming did not say anything, but his eyes were filled with a strong battle intent. Before he had the strength, it was useless to say anything. However, as Kong Jin had said, he would surpass them one day. Furthermore, Lu Ming believed that this day would not be too far away. He was comparable to an ancient family. This was Lu Ming's initial goal. Furthermore, he had to achieve it. If he could not even achieve this, how could he compete with the top martial emperor? Let's go, we will cultivate on the steps of the Heavenly King's steel. Lu Ming said and took a big step forward. The four of them headed toward the first Heavenly King's steel. When they arrived at the bottom of the Heavenly King's steel, they realized that there were already some people there. The corpse emperor was sitting cross-legged on the 26th step. Wang Ju, Gue Yi, and the others were sitting cross-legged on the 25th step. There were a total of 27 steps on the Heavenly King's steel. The 21st to 27th steps were dark red in color. It was the reward for the top 108 in the Heavenly King ranking. Only they could go up. The 27th step was the highest, and only the first place could go up. The 26th step could go up. The second to fourth place could go up. The 25th step could go up. The 5th to 10th place could go up. The 24th step could go up. The 11th to 20th place could go up. The 21st step could go up. The 38th place could go up. The 108 spots were distributed among the 7 steps. Lu Ming soared into the air and flew toward the highest step. Above his head, the illusory image of the Heavenly King's steel shone down rays of light, enveloping Lu Ming. Without the protection of the illusory image of the Heavenly King's steel, climbing the dark red steps would only lead to death. Bang! Lu Ming landed on the highest step. In that instant, Lu Ming felt all sorts of extremely intense states. He even felt that there were experts fighting and cultivating. There were imprints left behind by supreme experts on the Heavenly King's steel. No one knew when the Heavenly King's steel was left behind. It had stood here for countless years. In history, many martial emperors wanted to move it away and take it for themselves. However, no one could do it. Therefore, they stayed here for a long time. Lu Ming immediately sat down cross-legged, capturing the various states and starting to comprehend them. The traces of the various states here were much stronger than the steps below. Chapter 754. Xian Yanqing, Kong Jin, and the others also flew up the stairs and started cultivating. Soon after, the top 108 people all gathered and sat cross-legged on the top 7 steps. They had half a month to cultivate. After half a month, the Sky King's steel would return to normal and lose its mysterious effect. It would only open again after 3 years. Time flew by quickly. After 3 days, Lu Ming's fire concept broke through and reached the second level of entry. Then, he switched to the earth concept. The earth concept was much more difficult to cultivate. Lu Ming spent 10 days to break through and reach the second level. Since then, Lu Ming's 4 concepts of heaven and earth had all broken through to the second level. The conditions to enter the Sea of Soul realm had been met. Lu Ming could enter the Sea of Soul realm at any time. At this time, 13 days had passed. There were still 2 days left. In these 2 days, Lu Ming planned to continue comprehending the Earth concept. Cultivating the Earth concept was the most difficult. Lu Ming must grasp this opportunity. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. The Earth concept had also made some progress, reaching the middle stage of the second level entry. Soon, half a month's time would be up. Buzz! At this time, a message rushed into Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming was stunned and carefully comprehended it. Then, he was overjoyed. The message that rushed into Lu Ming's mind was actually a secret technique. The name of the secret technique was Super Spiritual Sea. Yes, the name was Super Spiritual Sea. According to the message, when a Sea of Soul realm martial artist cultivated this secret technique, the area of their spiritual sea would be twice as large as others. The area of a Sea of Soul realm martial artist's spiritual sea would be twice as large as others. This meant that the amount of Zhen Yuan they could store would be twice as large as others. Naturally, their battle strength would be stronger. Previously, it was said that the first place of the Sky King's Steel would receive a special reward from the Sky King's Steel. Some were martial skills, some were cultivation methods, and some were secret techniques. What Lu Ming received was a secret technique. This was also the reason why Jiang Taishu and the others were determined to fight for the first place. With a secret art like Super Spirit Ocean, he would have an innate advantage among the Sea of Souls realm warriors. Great! My Jin Yuan is already much stronger than ordinary people. With the Super Spirit Sea secret technique, my innate advantage will be even stronger. Lu Ming laughed in his heart. Although the 6 great ancient aristocratic families also practiced God-grade cultivation techniques, each type of God-grade cultivation technique specialized in a different direction. For example, the Wang family's heaven-burning raging flames art, after cultivating it, one's true essence would be like a heavenly fire that could burn everything. However, the thickness of the true essence was definitely not as thick as the true battle dragon art. The true dragon battle art leaned towards having abundant true essence. The combination of the Super Spirit Sea and the true battle dragon art complemented each other perfectly. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt that the Heavenly King's steel above his head had dissipated. As for him, he could no longer feel any pressure or intent. The time was up, and the Heavenly King's steel returned to normal. At this moment, everyone on the stairs opened their eyes. Go! Wang Ju and the others glanced at Lu Ming and hurriedly flew away, as if they were afraid that Lu Ming would attack them. The Corpse King and the others from the Heavenly Corpse sect also got up and left. Lu Ming, how's the harvest? Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded and then asked, You've broken through your intent realm? I've broken through. Next, I'll break through to the Spirit Sea realm. Xian Yanqing said. I'm also going to break through to the Spirit Sea realm. Kong Jin grinned. I also plan to break through to the Spirit Sea realm. Kenfei Ryu also said. This time, many people had made great progress. After the Heavenly King ranking battle, many people would probably choose to break through to the Spirit Sea realm, such as Wang Ju and the Corpse King. After all, the War of Providence was getting closer and closer. There was only 1 year and 3 months left. The War of Providence was the key. Alright, then let's find a place to break through. Lu Ming smiled. Now that he had accumulated enough supreme spiritual crystals, he had to break through to the Spirit Sea realm. Only by breaking through to the Spirit Sea realm could he compete with the top geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. The 4 of them rose into the air and flew into the distance. They did not fly to the city, but to the wilderness. Brother-in-law, what good stuff did you get from the top step? Kong Jin looked at Lu Ming sneakily. Fatty, you're not allowed to call him brother-in-law, and you're not allowed to call me sister. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth and looked at Kong Jin gloomily. Kong Jin shuddered and said, You don't have to be like this. I'm just calling you that to sound friendly. If I don't call you that, how can I call you that? It's up to you. Call me by my name. Xian Yanqing said through gritted teeth. All right, all right. Kong Jin pulled a long face, then looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, you haven't told me what good stuff you got. It's indeed good stuff. Lu Ming smiled and did not hide it. It's a secret skill. After the Spirit Sea realm, the area of the Spirit Sea can be doubled. What? Kong Jin, Xian Yanqing, and Kenfei Ryu were all shocked. Ha, Lu Ming, you see, you and I are family. Can you share it? Kong Jin looked at Lu Ming sneakily. Sure, buy it with spiritual crystals. Lu Ming said. Buy it with spiritual crystals? I don't have that many spiritual crystals. How about this, I'll give you primordial stones. Kong Jin thought for a moment, then a bag appeared in his hand. He threw it to Lu Ming and said, there are 100 primordial stones in it. See if it's enough. Primordial stones? You have so many primordial stones? Except for Xian Yanqing, Lu Ming and Kenfei Ryu all widened their eyes in shock. Primordial stones were similar to spiritual crystals. They contained a huge amount of energy. However, the energy in primordial stones was not the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in spiritual crystals, but primordial chi of heaven and earth. Primordial chi was purer than spiritual chi by many times. The energy consumed by warriors above the Spirit Sea realm was too terrifying. If they used spiritual crystals, it would be tens of millions or even hundreds of millions. The higher the realm, the more terrifying it would be. However, it was different with primordial stones. Primordial chi was extremely high level and could be quickly converted into genuine chi. A low-grade primordial stone was worth millions of spiritual crystals. The fatty gave Lu Ming 100 pieces of inferior-grade raw stones. They were worth hundreds of millions of supreme-grade spirit crystals. It should be known that ordinary Spirit Sea realm warriors did not have primordial stones. Normally, only warriors above the Spirit Sea realm would have primordial stones and use them to cultivate. Okay, that's enough. Lu Ming put away the primordial stones and took out 3 jade plates. He engraved the information of the Super Spirit Sea into the jade plates and then threw one of them to Kong Jin. This time, they had experienced a life-and-death battle. Lu Ming had already regarded Kong Jin as a friend. Although the Super Spirit Sea secret technique was precious, he would not be stingy. Chapter 755. Lu Ming, I don't have any primordial stones. Kenfei Ryu caught the jade pendant in a daze. Brother Jian, you don't need any primordial stones. Take it and cultivate. Lu Ming smiled. No, it's too precious. Kenfei Ryu still refused despite his desire. Brother Jian, you're so polite. Do you not see me as a friend? Lu Ming asked. How could that be? It's my honor to be friends with Brother Lu. Kenfei Ryu said. Then it's settled. Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming, thank you. Kenfei Ryu held the jade pendant tightly and looked touched. Even if they were friends, not many people would share such a precious secret technique with him. As for Xian Yanqing, he kept the jade pendant without saying a word. Hey, why am I the only one who wants to buy the primordial stones? They don't want it. It's not fair. Kong Jin complained. Because you're filthy rich. Lu Ming smiled. How am I filthy rich? It's not fair, it's not fair. Kong Jin continued to complain. Soon, they flew hundreds of thousands of miles and arrived at a remote and barren mountain. The 4 of them landed. Lu Ming waved his hands and started to carve an inscription formation on the ground. Breaking through to the spiritual sea was no small matter and could not be disturbed. Lu Ming started to carve an inscription formation in this area. If there were any abnormalities, he would be able to sense it. After setting up the formation, everyone chose a place to cultivate in seclusion. Lu Ming, with your cultivation method, You need a lot of energy to break through to the spiritual sea. Take these primordial stones. Xie Nianqing walked to Lu Ming and threw a bag to Lu Ming. He then turned and disappeared into a mountain. 200 primordial stones. Lu Ming opened it and found that there were 200 low-grade ores inside. Lu Ming smiled and kept the origin stone. His figure flashed and he rushed into a mountain. In the next moment, he appeared in the Temple of Paragon. Dandan was lying in a corner, nibbling on a spirit herb in a very leisurely manner. "Kid, are you ready to break through to the Sea of Souls realm?" Dandan glanced at Lu Ming and said. "That's right." Lu Ming nodded. "Your true yuan is extremely abundant, so the danger of breaking through the spiritual sea realm will increase greatly. Luckily, you've cultivated 4 wills, so it should be fine. Let me protect you." Dandan walked over. Lu Ming nodded and sat down cross-legged. With a wave of his hand, piles of supreme-grade spiritual crystals appeared around him. During this period of time, Lu Ming had killed many enemies and gathered all their spirit crystals together. There were more than 500 million spirit crystals. Lu Ming estimated that 500 million should be enough. Bang! Bang! His true yuan vibrated and the piles of spiritual crystals exploded. The 9 dragons' bloodline devoured the spiritual crystals and started to refine them. Lu Ming used the true dragon fighting art to convert the energy into true yuan. Rumble. The cyclone spun wildly and a large amount of true yuan gathered in it. Lu Ming started to compress the cyclone. As time passed, Lu Ming's cyclone became smaller and smaller. However, his true yuan also became more condensed and reached a terrifying level. To open the spiritual sea, one had to compress the cyclone to the maximum and then explode it. Yes, an explosion. At the moment of the explosion, a terrifying amount of energy would be generated and a spiritual sea would be opened in the Dantian. The spiritual sea was an ocean of true yuan. The amount of true yuan it could contain was much more than the cyclone. There was a limit to the amount of true yuan a cyclone could contain. Without opening the spiritual sea, one would never be able to break through. However, this process was extremely dangerous. If one was not careful, one's dantian would explode and even one's entire body would explode. Therefore, one had to use intent to protect the body. One had to use intent to block the energy of the explosion and gather it in a certain area to open the spiritual sea. Lu Ming's true yuan was too condensed, so the power of the explosion would naturally be stronger. If one only used one intent to protect the body, it would not be able to block it and would be very dangerous. Fortunately, Lu Ming had 4 intents. Compress, continue compressing. Half a day later, the cyclone had been compressed to the maximum and formed a point. A shocking amount of energy spread out from it. Success or failure depends on this. Explode! Lu Ming's eyes were filled with determination. With a thought, the cyclone that had been compressed to the maximum exploded. Boom! Boom! It was like the beginning of the world. A shocking amount of energy burst out and destroyed everything. Block it! The 4 intents of heaven and earth gathered together and formed layers of defense in the Dantian. Rumble! The berserk energy wreaked havoc. Lu Ming's Dantian was torn apart and formed a crack. This crack was rapidly expanding. Slowly, the crack formed a pool of water. The pool of water grew larger and larger, and its surface area grew larger and larger. The spiritual sea was opening. This process only happened in an instant. In the next moment, the berserk energy calmed down and a pool of about 10 meters in diameter was formed. This pool was the spiritual sea. When one first broke through, the area would not be very big. As one's cultivation increased, it would become bigger and bigger. When an ordinary person broke through to the spiritual sea, their spiritual sea would not be as big as Lu Ming's. Lu Ming cultivated the true dragon battle art and was able to open such a large spiritual sea at the beginning. Lu Ming had successfully opened the spiritual sea without any danger. This was normal. After all, Lu Ming had comprehended 4 intents and successfully merged them. No matter how strong his true yuan was, the defense of 4 intents was enough. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He had finally broken through to the spiritual sea realm. However, there was only a thin layer of true yuan in the spiritual sea. Only when the spiritual sea was filled with true yuan could one be considered to have truly stepped into the spiritual sea realm. Explode, explode! Lu Ming continued to explode spiritual crystals, devouring and refining the spiritual qi and turning it into true yuan. As the spiritual crystals continued to be refined, the true yuan in the spiritual sea increased and slowly filled up. 3 days later, everyone's spiritual crystals were used up, but the spiritual sea was not full yet. The amount of energy I need to cultivate is still so terrifying. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. More than 500 million spiritual crystals were still not enough. Immediately, Lu Ming took out a bag and took out 2 primordial stones. He crushed them and primordial qi spread out. The 9 dragons' bloodline opened its mouth and swallowed the origin qi. Origin qi was of a much higher grade than spiritual qi. The spiritual sea was quickly filled with true yuan. In the end, Lu Ming refined another 50 origin stones before his spiritual sea was completely filled. What rich true yuan! What rich true yuan! Lu Ming circulated the true yuan of the battle dragon art. Feeling the rich true yuan, he was in a good mood. The true yuan of the spiritual sea realm was much richer than that of the king realm. Now, his battle strength had increased by a lot. With a thought, Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and sensed his surroundings. Xian Yanqing and the others should still be breaking through. Lu Ming had the 9 dragons' bloodline, so his speed was faster. I'll cultivate while waiting for them. I'll cultivate the super spiritual sea first. Chapter 756. A day later, Lu Ming successfully mastered the secret skill, Super Spirit Sea. Lu Ming's Spirit Sea had doubled in size from its original foundation and could accommodate more quintessential essence. Of course, when Lu Ming filled up his spiritual ocean, he used another 200 origin stones. If Kong Jin hadn't given him 100 origin stones and Xian Yanqing hadn't given him 200 origin stones, he wouldn't have had enough spiritual crystals. Boom! Boom! On the highest level of the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming cultivated the suppressing hell heaven art. His arms, legs, shoulders, and waist all seemed to contain a suppressing hell monument. Every move he made had unimaginable power. After more than 100 moves, Lu Ming finally stopped. After reaching the spiritual ocean realm, I can finally use the suppressing hell heaven art as I wish. Lu Ming broke into a smile. The suppressing hell heaven art was a demigod bloodline martial skill. It consumed a lot of true yuan. When Lu Ming was a peak-tier king, he didn't dare to use it casually. After breaking through to the spiritual sea realm, there was no need to worry about this. The vital essence in his spirit sea was extremely rich and it was completely sufficient. In addition, his 4 intents had all reached the 2nd level. Lu Ming did not know what level his combat ability had reached now. After that, Lu Ming comprehended the 4 intents and cultivated martial skills every day. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Lu Ming guessed that Xian Yanqing and the others were almost done cultivating, so he left the Temple of Paragon. As soon as he left the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming felt that something was wrong. He only sensed 2 auras. Originally, there were 3 auras. Shwa! Shwa! As if sensing Lu Ming's aura, there was a sound of something breaking through the air. Xian Yanqing and Kong Jin appeared in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming, Kenfei Ryu seems to have left. Xian Yanqing said. Brother Jian left? Lu Ming was stunned. He could sense the inscription formation that he had inscribed. However, he wouldn't be able to sense anyone coming in from the outside. This is the message he sent me. Xian Yanqing handed a sound-transmitting jade talisman to Lu Ming. There was only one sentence inside, Miss Xia, Brother Lu, I have something to do and need to leave first. Don't miss me. Lu Ming guessed that it was because he was in the Temple of Paragon and Kenfei Ryu's news couldn't reach him, so he didn't receive any news from Kenfei Ryu. Why did Brother Jian leave in such a hurry? What happened? Why did you leave without saying goodbye? Lu Ming frowned. Based on his understanding of Kenfei Ryu, he would not leave without saying goodbye. Something must have happened. I'm guessing that it might be because of his junior sister. Xian Yanqing said. That's possible. Could it be that Brother Jian went to Nine Dragons City? Lu Ming frowned. This was the only possibility. Let's go. Let's go back to the city and see if we can get some news. Lu Ming said. Then, the three of them soared into the sky and flew towards the city near the king's monument. Soon, they arrived at a city. Now, most of the Peak Kings had left. The area near the king's monument had returned to its previous desolation. There weren't many people on the streets. The three of them found a restaurant to see if they could get some news. Kong Jin ordered 50 roasted lamb legs in the restaurant. He was using his words to store them. I heard that all the geniuses and sky prides have gone to Nine Dragons City in the Tianwu domain. That's normal. There's still more than a year before the Battle of Providence. Every time, the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace places great importance on it. I heard that all the cultivation sacred grounds in Nine Dragons City have been opened. All the cultivation sacred grounds that used to be closed are now open to the Sky Prides. Those Sky Prides will naturally flock there. Not only the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, but also the Sky Demon Valley and Sky Corp sect. Every time the Battle of Providence draws near, all kinds of sacred grounds will be open to increase the strength of those Sky Prides as soon as possible. After all, the Battle of Providence will affect a force's fortune for the next 20 years. It's no small matter. Even the Martial Emperor places great importance on it. That's right. Those Sky Prides will naturally become stronger if they cultivate in such sacred grounds. All the Sky Prides who are interested in the Battle of Providence will not miss it and will go there. Otherwise, they will be surpassed by others. Now, Nine Dragons City is a gathering place. Some people in the restaurant were discussing the recent news. Lu Ming, they're right. Before every Battle of Providence, all the forces will do everything they can to nurture the geniuses of their respective forces and open up all kinds of sacred grounds. This is also an opportunity for us to improve our strength quickly and compete with the geniuses at the top of the list of top 1,000 talents. Xian Yanqing said. Let's go to Nine Dragons City. I happen to know some friends there. Kong Jin said as he gnawed on a lamb leg. Lu Ming pondered quickly in his heart. Nine Dragons City in the Tianwu domain was the headquarters of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Martial Emperor De was there. If they went to Nine Dragons City, they would be very close to Martial Emperor De. He was afraid that Martial Emperor De would sense the Nine Dragons bloodline. Senior Jiuyang has already sealed it. He said that it won't be sensed for 10 years, so it should be fine. At that time, I will try not to use the Nine Dragons bloodline. It should be fine. If I'm always timid and don't seize the opportunity, how can I improve my cultivation quickly? With this thought, Lu Ming decided to go. Alright, let's set off in a while. Lu Ming said. After a while, the three finished eating and flew west. They wanted to head to a nearby large region and take the trans-region transportation formation. Nine Dragons City in the Tianwu domain was known as the largest city in the eastern wasteland. The reason why Nine Dragons City was called Nine Dragons City was because it was mainly formed by 9 huge dragon veins. Each dragon vein was actually a mountain range. They were vast and boundless, spanning tens of thousands of kilometers, winding around the vast land. Among them, there were 6 dragon veins in different directions. In the middle of these 6 dragon veins were the other 3 dragon veins. The 3 dragon veins gathered together, forming the core of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Around the 9 dragon veins were city walls. However, these city walls were not ordinary city walls. They were all mountain peaks. Countless mountain peaks rose from the ground, reaching more than 10,000 meters tall. They gathered together and formed a circle, surrounding the 9 dragon veins in the middle, forming 9 Dragon City. 9 Dragon City's area was unbelievably large. The city's area was about the same as the Tianxian domain. That's right, a city was equivalent to a large region. This was simply unbelievable. From this, one could see how majestic the city walls surrounding 9 Dragon City were. They were made of many mountain peaks. It was simply unbelievable. Clearly, this was not the creation of the world. It was said that it was built by a supreme expert from the ancient era, forcefully uprooting countless mountain peaks from the ground and surrounding the vast 9 dragon veins. How vast of a project was this? Lu Ming stood outside the city walls of 9 Dragon City, looking at all this in shock. He found it hard to believe that there was such a shocking building in the world. Was this something that could be done by humans? Even martial emperors could not do this, right? Chapter 757. He looked over and saw mountains that were tens of thousands of meters high. All the mountains were side by side, and he couldn't see the end of them. There was a huge city gate at the foot of a few of the mountains. That was one of the city gates to enter 9 Dragon City. Xian Yanqing and Kong Jin were quite calm. I'm back. Let's go in. Kong Jin carried his axe and held a lamb leg in one hand. He gnawed on it as he walked forward. Fatty, why are you carrying your axe all day long? Aren't you tired? Don't you have a storage ring? Lu Ming asked as they walked. Since he saw Kong Jin, he had seen him carrying his huge axe every day. I'm carrying this axe to lose weight. Kong Jin answered. Kong Jin's answer made Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing stumble and almost fall. To lose weight? Then why don't you stop eating? Eat. Xian Yanqing looked at him with disdain. How can I carry the axe if I don't eat? How can I lose weight if I can't carry the axe? You don't know how exhausting it is to carry the axe every day. Kong Jin said with a serious face. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were speechless. They were completely defeated. The city gate of 9 Dragon City was huge. It was at least a few hundred meters high and a few hundred meters wide. People came and went at the city gate. It was very lively. They could see all kinds of martial artists riding on demonic beasts and ferocious beasts. They rushed into 9 Dragon City. No one was guarding the city gate, and no one was checking. They could enter and leave at will. That was their confidence. As the main palace of Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, 9 Dragon City gathered the most powerful forces of Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. More than 80% of the experts above the spiritual embryo realm were in 9 Dragon City. There were spiritual embryo realm, spiritual god realm, and even supreme being. In addition, Emperor De was also there. No matter if it was the Heavenly Corpse sect or Sky Demon Valley, if they dared to break into 9 Dragon City and cause trouble, they would be courting death unless they were Imperial Realm experts. However, if an Emperor Dao expert really came, then it would be useless no matter how many experts there were at the city gates. The 3 of them walked through the city gates. What entered their eyes was a huge and wide road that led to various places. There were also endless mountain ranges. The 9 Dragon City was a world of its own. After all, its size was comparable to the Tianxian region. What a dense spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Also, the concept of heaven and earth is much clearer than other places. Lu Ming exclaimed. Lu Ming, this is only the edge. 9 Dragon City is where the 9 dragon veins converge. The closer one is to the dragon veins, the denser the heaven and earth spirit qi will be, and the clearer the heaven and earth will be. Therefore, 9 Dragon City is filled with martial king warriors, and even Sea of Soul realm experts. Only spirit embryo warriors and above can be considered experts. Kong Jin said. Lu Ming sighed. The main reason was that the conditions were too good. The 9 Dragon City is dominated by the dragon veins. Right now, the cores of the 6 dragon veins in the 6 directions are occupied by the 6 ancient aristocratic families. With the dragon veins as the core, there are countless clans and sects of various sizes. The bigger ones belong to the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. The smaller ones are competing with each other. Every day, there are powers that are destroyed and new powers that rise. Even the 6 ancient aristocratic families are competing with each other. The upper echelons of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace wouldn't care about this. Only in this way can more experts be born. Kong Jin explained. He had stayed in Nine Dragons City before, so he had a better understanding of the city. We are now in the easternmost area of the Dragon Vein. The strongest power here is one of the 6 ancient aristocratic families, Wang clan. They occupy the core position of the Dragon Vein, and countless clans of various sizes are scattered around the Dragon Vein. Kong Jin continued. Lu Ming nodded. The 3 of them chose a direction and flew while chatting. After a few hours, a city appeared before them. The 3 of them flew in. This city was called Gathering Luxury City. Kong Jin introduced that there were more than 10 clans of various sizes scattered around Gathering Luxury City. This place had not officially entered the Eastern Dragon Vein and was only in the outer area. The closer one was to the Dragon Vein, the denser the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Only powerful clans could occupy it. Small clans could only be in the outer area. The 3 of them strolled around Gathering Luxury City. This city was not particularly big, but there were many experts on the streets. Lu Ming glanced around and saw that there were martial kings everywhere. Fortunately, there were not many Sea of Soul Realm cultivators. He saw a few, but they were not very strong. After all, this was only the outer area of the Dragon Vein. Ting Ting, it's me, this young master. Suddenly, Kong Jin revealed a bright smile and greeted a girl. That girl was about 23 or 24 years old. She wore a light yellow dress and had a slim figure. She was very beautiful. That girl was walking over. When she heard the voice, she looked over. Then, she glared at Kong Jin and walked over. Damn fatty, are you a friend or not? You left without saying goodbye last time. Where did you go? Don't tell me you went to deceive a little girl again. The beautiful girl sized up Kong Jin and said unhappily. Haha, Ting Ting, how can that be? With a beauty like you in front of me, how can other beauties catch my eye? I left last time because I had something to do. See, I came back right after I was done. Sigh. Truly, one day apart feels like 3 years. Look, I've lost weight. As Kong Jin spoke, he patted his chest. Immediately, the layers of fat on his chest rippled like waves. It was a spectacular sight. Humph, don't try to flatter me. Your tricks are useless against me. The girl pouted and then looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Haha, Ting Ting, come, let me introduce you. Kong Jin laughed and said, this is Ruan Ting Ting, my confidant. Damn fatty, don't talk nonsense. I haven't known you for long. Ruan Ting Ting interrupted Kong Jin. She looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and said, the 2 of you look dignified. Are you friends of this fatty? I advise the 2 of you that this fatty is ignorant and incompetent. He's lazy and lustful. Don't make bad friends and be led astray by this fatty. Hey, Ting Ting, how can you say that about me? We're friends, aren't we? Kong Jin said unhappily. Humph, who asked you to be so unreliable and leave without saying goodbye? Next time, don't say that I don't recognize you as a friend. Ruan Ting Ting snorted coldly. Looking at Kong Jin and Ruan Ting Ting bickering, Lu Ming felt rather amused and did not interrupt. Of course. With such a beautiful friend like you, how can I leave without saying goodbye? Ha, these 2 are friends I met outside. They're Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Have you heard of them? Kong Jin introduced Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Never heard of them. Ruan Ting Ting shook her head. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that the Tianji Chamber of Commerce had not updated the list of top 1,000 talents. Moreover, the Battle of Providence was approaching. Most people were focused on the top geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. Not many people were paying attention to the battle of heavenly talents. Chapter 758. Miss Ruan. Lu Ming nodded at Ruan Tingting and greeted her. Tingting, it's my first time here with two friends. We don't have a place to stay. Do you think we can stay at your Wind Sword sect for a while? Kong Jin looked at Ruan Tingting eagerly. Isn't there an inn? Ruan Tingting asked. There is an inn, but it's inconvenient to cultivate. How can it be as comfortable as your place? My two friends are geniuses. Isn't it better if we can discuss martial arts? Kong Jin looked at Ruan Tingting expectantly. Lu Ming despised him in his heart. This fatty definitely wanted to use this opportunity to get close to Ruan Tingting. I say, fatty, Xiaoqing's sister, Lu Ming purposely spoke, dragging out his words. Ah, cough cough. What Xiaoqing's sister? I don't know her. Tingting, what do you think of my suggestion? Kong Jin instantly changed the topic. Ruan Tingting pondered for a moment and said, all right then. My courtyard is quite big. It's fine with the three of you. But, fatty, you're not allowed to cause trouble. Kong Jin was overjoyed and immediately swore to the heavens that he wouldn't. Lu Ming shook his head. This fatty was truly a weirdo. However, having a place to stay was better than staying at an inn. Lu Ming naturally wouldn't refuse. Immediately, Lu Ming and the other two followed Ruan Tingting out of Gathering Luxury City and flew towards the west side of the city. Over 10,000 miles away, there was a mountain range with spirit chi even denser than Gathering Luxury City. On top of it, there were numerous palaces and courtyards. This was Ruan Tingting's sect, the Wind Sword sect. The Wind Sword sect was merely a small faction in Nine Dragon City. Within the sect, there were no more than 10 spiritual Sea Realm martial artists. The highest cultivation was at the 3rd level of the spiritual Sea Realm. Such strength was absolutely unrivaled in Tianxian region, but in Nine Dragon City, it was truly a small faction. However, according to Ruan Tingting's introduction, the Wind Sword sect was considered pretty good among the dozen or so factions around Gathering Luxury City. With Ruan Tingting leading the way, the Wind Sword sect disciples guarding the mountain didn't stop them. They entered the Wind Sword sect and arrived at Ruan Tingting's residence. There were 5 rooms in Ruan Tingting's courtyard. It was quite convenient for a few people to stay there. Fatty, Brother Lu, Lady Xia, you guys can stay here from now on. However, don't wander around the Wind Sword sect. There are some forbidden grounds that even I don't dare to enter. If you're caught, you'll be punished. Ruan Tingting said. Don't worry, Miss Ruan. We know this. Lu Ming smiled. After that, Lu Ming and the other two settled down. Nine Dragon City was too big, and there were too many forces. He wanted to familiarize himself with the city first. In the next 2 days, Lu Ming had a rough understanding of the forces in this area. 3 dragon veins converged in the middle of Nine Dragon City. This was where Martial Monarch De and the upper echelons of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace resided. The 6 dragon veins in the surroundings were dominated by the 6 great ancient aristocratic families. As for those cultivation sacred grounds, they were basically above the 9 dragon veins. It wasn't that easy to enter those sacred grounds to cultivate. One had to be recommended by the various branches or the forces in Nine Dragon City before they could enter. It seemed like it wasn't that easy to enter those sacred grounds to cultivate. On the 3rd day, there was a commotion outside. Lu Ming walked out of his room. At the entrance of the courtyard, a young man swaggered in. Su Luo, this is my courtyard. What are you trying to do by barging in? Get out immediately. Ruan Tingting stood in front of the young man and shouted. Your courtyard? Don't forget that this is the Wind Sword sect. Do you know your crime for bringing outsiders in without permission? Su Luo's face was cold as he swept his gaze across Lu Ming and the others. They are my friends. It's reasonable for me to let them stay in my courtyard for a few days. What crime is there? Alright, Su Luo, you barged into my courtyard without my permission. That's a crime. Get out now. Ruan Tingting said. Humph, a slut will always be a slut. You actually brought a few men to stay with you. Su Luo said coldly. Hey, where did this stray dog come from? Why are you barking here? Be careful, or I'll tear your mouth apart. Kong Jin walked over with his battle axe on his shoulder and stared at Su Luo with hostility. Fat pig, what did you say? You're courting death. Su Luo's eyes were cold as a powerful aura rose and enveloped Kong Jin. It was the aura of a peak-tier king. Boom! A powerful aura rose from Ruan Tingting's body. She was also a peak-tier king. She stepped forward and blocked Kong Jin, blocking Su Luo's aura. In a place like Nine Dragons City, it wasn't difficult to become a peak-tier king. As long as one was talented and had the support of a large amount of resources, it wasn't a problem to become a peak-tier king. Of course, most of them were ordinary peak-tier kings who couldn't make it onto the list of top 1,000 talents. Ruan Tingting, you want to fight me for a few outsiders? Su Luo's face was extremely gloomy. Get out. Ruan Tingting said coldly. Okay, fat pig, and you guys better be careful. Su Luo glanced at Kong Jin, then at Lu Ming and Xia Xia. He snorted coldly and turned to leave, as if he was afraid of Ruan Tingting. Tingting, why are you blocking me? Let me tear that guy's mouth apart. Kong Jin looked at the door with hostility. Fatty, don't brag. You think you can beat Su Luo when you're so ignorant and incompetent? He's a peak-tier king. Be careful not to be beaten up by him. Also, Lu Ming, Miss Xia, if I'm not around in the future, don't wander around the Wind Sword sect. Su Luo is a narrow-minded person. If he sees you guys, I'm afraid he'll attack you. Ruan Tingting warned. Looking at Ruan Tingting's serious expression, Lu Ming was speechless. Were they so weak in her eyes that they couldn't even deal with Su Luo? It must be because Ruan Tingting had a bad impression of Kong Jin. Tingting, why is that guy targeting you? Kong Jin asked. He wanted to pursue me in the past, but I rejected him. Therefore, he has been targeting me ever since, said Ruan Tingting. Humph, with his looks, he's like a toad lusting after a swan's meat. Tingting, your ideal husband is at least a handsome and extraordinary hero like me. Kong Jin patted his chest with a smug look on his face. Shameless. Ruan Tingting glared at Kong Jin, then said to Lu Ming and the others, I have something to do and need to go out. You guys better not wander around the Wind Sword sect. After warning them again, Ruan Tingting jogged out. I say, Fatty, you've never revealed your cultivation in front of Miss Tingting before? Lu Ming asked curiously. No, I originally wanted to use my handsome and unruly appearance to conquer her. How about it? Do you guys think I have a chance? Kong Jin opened his small eyes and looked at Lu Ming and Xia Nianqing with hope. Shameless. Xia Nianqing left behind a sentence and returned to his room to cultivate. You better use your cultivation to conquer her. Lu Ming patted Kong Jin's shoulder and returned to his room. Chapter 759. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days had passed. In the room, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. Between his eyebrows, a green flame was pulsating. Break for me. Lu Ming muttered as he activated the underworld god observation. The green flame pulsated, then quickly shrunk and disappeared. After a while, a different kind of flame appeared between his eyebrows. It was a blue flame. The blue spirit flame represented that Lu Ming's path of inscription had reached level 6. Level 6 Inscription Master. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Through his inner vision, there was a spirit lamp in his mind. The blue spirit flame was dazzling and beautiful. Lu Ming's path of inscription had reached the limit of level 5 a long time ago. After this period of cultivation, he finally broke through and reached level 6. Level 6 Inscription Master was equivalent to the Sea of Soul Realm. Now, I can look at the seal left by Master. Lu Ming controlled the spirit flame and spread it towards the seal left by Liao Cong. Very easily, the seal left by Liao Cong was opened. When the path of inscription was at level 5, it couldn't be opened no matter how hard he tried. But when he reached level 6, it was easily opened. Inside, there were all the experiences and insights left by Liao Cong as a level 6 inscription master. Lu Ming felt as if he had found a treasure. He began to comprehend and cultivate. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days had passed. Fatty, Lu Ming, Miss Xia, how many days will you stay here? I have something to do. How many days will I be gone? Ruan Tingting said to Lu Ming and the other two. Tingting, how many days will you be gone? What are you going to do? Kong Jin asked. Nothing much. I have to complete a mission from the sect. It will take a few days. Ruan Tingting said. Mission? Take me with you. Lu Ming, do you want to go? Kong Jin looked at Lu Ming and asked. Okay. Lu Ming nodded. They had been here for a few days. Lu Ming also wanted to go out and learn more about the situation. You want to go together? Let me tell you, this mission has a certain degree of danger. Ruan Tingting said. If there's danger, then we have to go. Tingting, don't worry, I'll protect you. Kong Jin seized the opportunity to curry favor. Ruan Tingting pondered for a moment and said, you can go if you want, but don't run around when the time comes. Stay by my side. Okay, no problem. I'll definitely be by your side. Kong Jin immediately agreed. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing didn't say much as they followed Ruan Tingting out of the Wind Sword sect and arrived outside Juhao City. The mission this time was mainly to hunt down a peak class 5 demonic beast, the Black Ghost Scorpion. The location was in a dark swamp more than 300,000 miles away from Juhao City. According to Ruan Tingting, the dark swamp was filled with poisonous creatures. It was very dangerous, so she called a few good friends to go with her. Her friends were not from the Wind Sword sect but from other forces. Outside Juhao City, Lu Ming and the rest saw 2 other youths, a male and a female. The female was very beautiful and was about the same age as Ruan Tingting. The male was also quite handsome. Through Ruan Tingting's introduction, Lu Ming and the rest knew that the female was called Xiao Xian. She was a disciple of another sect around Juhao City, the Ocean Cloud sect. The male was called Shi Kai. He was also a disciple of the Shi family, one of the forces in Juhao City. Tingting, who are they? Xiao Xian looked curiously at Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Kong Jin. Haha, how are you, beautiful? I'm Kong Jin. Kong Jin took the initiative to greet. His pair of small eyes swept over Xiao Xian's body, shining brightly. This damn fatty is the same as you. Xian Yanqing whispered in Lu Ming's ear. Lu Ming's face immediately turned bitter. He was wronged. He was greatly wronged. Since when was he as lecherous as Kong Jin, staring at a beauty when he saw her? Humph. Ruan Tingting glared at Kong Jin and ignored him. She introduced to Xiao Xian, this is Lu Ming and Miss Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming. Xiao Xian's eyes suddenly flickered. Xian, do you know Lu Ming? Ruan Tingting asked. No, but this name sounds familiar. I think I've heard it some time ago. Xiao Xian frowned slightly. It's probably someone with the same name. There are many people with the same name in the world. Ruan Tingting said, not minding it. Xiao Xian glanced at Lu Ming and nodded. Then, the group flew in the direction of the dark swamp. More than 300,000 miles. It didn't take long for them to arrive. The dark swamp was in front of them. Be careful later. Don't get lost. Ruan Tingting was still worried and reminded them again. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. This girl had a good heart, but no matter how he looked at her, he felt that she was too naive. Lu Ming and the other 2 naturally nodded. Then, the group carefully flew in. Not long after they flew in, many poisonous insects pounced at them. However, their levels weren't high, and they were easily killed by Ruan Tingting's group. Qiao Xian and Shi Kai were both peak-tier kings and were quite powerful. The dark swamp was very big, and the group traveled for tens of thousands of miles. We're almost at the location of the dark ghost scorpion. Be careful, Ruan Tingting said. The group withdrew their auras and continued forward. A few hundred miles later, that's the dark ghost scorpion. Kill. In a swamp, they found a huge dark ghost scorpion. Its entire body was black as if it was made of steel. This was their target this time, the dark ghost scorpion. Ruan Tingting yelled and immediately charged at the dark ghost scorpion. The blue sword light was crystal clear as it enveloped the dark ghost scorpion. CC, the dark ghost scorpion let out a hissing sound as its black tail pierced toward Ruan Tingting like a bolt of black lightning. Dang! Dang! The sound of metal clashing rang out as the blue sword light dissipated, and Ruan Tingting's figure couldn't help but retreat. Attack together! Qiao Xian yelled and charged up with Shi Kai. Qiao Xian used a soft whip while Shi Kai used a large hammer. The two worked together with Ruan Tingting and continuously attacked the dark ghost scorpion. Although the dark ghost scorpion was strong, it was still no match for three martial artists at the same level. Soon, its black shell was cut open by Ruan Tingting's sword, and black blood seeped out. During this process, Lu Ming and the other two didn't interfere. Seeing that it wasn't a match, the dark ghost scorpion turned and ran through the swamp. Chase! Ruan Tingting and the other two chased after the dark ghost scorpion. Let's go take a look as well, Lu Ming said as the other three followed. One chased while the other fled, and they covered several thousand miles in the blink of an eye. Pang! Just as the black ghost scorpion reached a mound, rays of light shot out of the mound, forming a battle sword that sent the black ghost scorpion flying, splitting it in half in the air. What's going on? Ruan Tingting and the others jumped in fright and couldn't help but stop. Array? Interesting. Chapter 760. Tingting, there seems to be a formation here. Qiao Xian observed the mound with a frown. Why would there be a formation here? Could it be a senior's cultivation cave? Shi Kai's eyes lit up. Ruan Tingting put away the dark ghost scorpion's corpse into her storage ring. She looked around and said, "This mound seems to have been here for quite some time, it's overgrown with weeds. No one has been here for a long time. Could this be a cultivation cave left behind by a senior? Ruins left behind by a senior? It's possible." Qiao Xian and Shi Kai's eyes lit up. In the history of the Nine Dragon City, countless experts had been born. Some of these experts did not have any descendants, and after their death, they would leave behind cultivation caves, ruins, and so on. If someone came across these ruins, it would be a great opportunity. Could it be that they had come across such a great opportunity? The three of them were ecstatic. But how do we break this formation? If we inform the sex elders, we won't have a share. Ruan Tingting frowned. This formation is quite powerful. That dark ghost scorpion was killed in an instant. I've only learned a little bit of inscription Dao, but I can't break it. Qiao Xian sighed. The three of them looked at each other anxiously. It wasn't easy to come across such a rare opportunity. Were they really going to hand it over to the sex elders? They were unwilling to do so. I know a little bit of inscription Dao, let me give it a try. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Lu Ming, you know inscription Dao? Ruan Tingting looked at Lu Ming in astonishment. I know. Lu Ming nodded, looking at the mound. The owner of this mound should be a grade 6 inscription master. The formation he laid out should be a grade 6 array. Grade 6 array. Then how do we break? Ruan Tingting opened her mouth, but before she could finish her words, her beautiful eyes widened. Lu Ming's fingertips danced in the air, and in the blink of an eye, dense inscription symbols appeared in the air, flying towards the mound. So fast. Wan Tingting, Qiao Xian, and the others were dumbfounded. Lu Ming's inscription speed was too fast. With a wave of his hand, hundreds and thousands of inscriptions appeared. Wang! On the mound, the light was dazzling, and mysterious inscriptions appeared. Rumble! In the next moment, the mound actually split into two halves, revealing a pitch-black passageway. Open! Open! Wan Tingting and the others were dumbfounded. It took them a while to react. Lu Ming, I didn't expect that your inscription Dao would be so profound. You even hid it from us before. Wan Tingting blinked her big eyes in amazement. Damn it! That brat Lu Ming stole the limelight. Damn it! Fatty Kong Jean wailed in his heart, feeling indignant. Let's go in. Lu Ming smiled. Alright, let's hurry in. A group of 6 people walked towards the crack in the mound. The tunnel was very long. After several thousand meters, it suddenly opened up, revealing a rather spacious underground space. This was an underground secret room, which should have been artificially excavated. In the middle of the secret chamber, a skeleton sat cross-legged. There was a spatial ring on the skeleton's finger. It's really a senior's cave. This senior should have died many years ago. Wan Tingting's big eyes shone. Qiao Xian and Shi Kai's eyes also shone. A Sea of Soul Realm expert who could lay down a 6th-grade array, how many treasures would there be in the ring? To peak kings like them, the temptation was enormous. How about we split it equally? How about it? Qiao Xian suggested. Equally? If not for Lu Ming opening the array, we wouldn't have gotten it at all. I think Lu Ming should get a bit more. Wan Tingting said. That's true. Qiao Xian nodded. I have no objection to Lu Ming getting a bit more. But, that fatty and girl didn't do anything. I'm afraid it's not good to share it equally with us. Shi Kai's eyes flickered. Hey, kid, what do you mean by that? Are you looking down on me? Kong Jean was immediately displeased. You guys don't need to fight over it. Everything inside is ours. Right at this moment, a sneer was heard, and 2 old men in green robes walked in from the tunnel. Wan Tingting, Qiao Xian, and Shi Kai's faces changed drastically. Especially when they saw the 2 old men's robes, their faces became even more unsightly. Miao family! You're from Miao family! Qiao Xian exclaimed. That's right, we're from Miao family. In fact, we've already discovered this cave long ago. But the array outside was rather troublesome, so we've been trying to think of a way. Who would have thought that the array would be broken by you guys? The heavens are really helping us. One of the old men laughed heartily. You too, empty words have no proof. You said that you discovered it first, but no one knew. But, this cave was opened by us, and this is the truth. According to the rules, the treasures inside should belong to us. Shi Kai argued. Belong to you? Brat, you really have the guts to say that. One of the old men sneered, his eyes revealing a chilling smile. The aura from his body also spread out, terrifying, powerful, and majestic. Sea of Soul Realm, it's the Sea of Soul Realm. Shi Kai exclaimed, his face turning pale. Wan Tingting and Qiao Xian's faces also turned pale. Senior, since you found this place first, it should belong to you. We'll leave immediately, let's go. Wan Tingting was decisive, seeing that the situation was not right, she immediately gave up. Go? Go where? One of the old men moved, blocking the tunnel entrance. The other old man's gaze swept over Xian Yanqing, Qiao Xian, and Wan Tingting. The evil fire in his eyes blazed as he sneered, our luck today is really too good, there are actually 3 such beautiful little beauties, peerless, truly peerless. The 2 of you can stay and serve the 2 of us. How about this, that chick belongs to me, and the other 2 belong to you. How about it? The old man blocking the tunnel pointed at Xian Yanqing, his eyes burning with desire. You really know how to choose. The other old man curled his lips. As for Wan Tingting and Xiao Xian, their faces were already pale without the slightest trace of blood. Two seniors, my father is the Sea Cloud sect's patriarch, please let us go. Xiao Xian's small face was snow-white, her voice trembling. So, it's the daughter of the Sea Cloud sect's patriarch, then it'll be even more fun to play with. One of the old men laughed, not afraid at all. Wan Tingting and the others revealed a look of despair. The Miao family wasn't a force near Juhao City. The Miao family was located on top of the Dragon Vein. They had the qualifications to establish a force on top of the Dragon Vein. The forces near Juhao City couldn't be compared to them. Chapter 761. Lu Ming, don't fight with me this time. And Miss Xia, calm down, I'll take care of it. Kong Jin suddenly transmitted his voice to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Ah! Lu Ming was stunned. Xian Yanqing's eyes emitted a cold light, and he was also stunned. At this time, Kong Jin stepped out and shouted, I say, you two old guys, do you think I'm invisible? Now, kneel down and admit your mistakes to these ladies, and I'll consider lenient punishment. The sudden words made Wan Tingting, Xiao Xian, and Shikai a little stunned. Fat pig, what did you say? An old man's face darkened. Old guy, are you deaf? I told you to kneel down and admit your mistakes. Kong Jin said with a cold face. Lu Ming smiled slightly and didn't step forward. If this fatty wanted to show off in front of the beauties, let him go. Anyway, these two old guys from the Miao family were dead meat in Lu Ming's eyes. Xian Yanqing snorted and didn't make a move. Fatty, you want to die. Wan Tingting's face was pale as she walked to Kong Jin and whispered. Tingting, don't worry. With me here, no one can hurt you. I can suppress these two old guys with one hand. Kong Jin straightened his back and said loudly. He was telling the truth. The two old men were both at the peak of the first layer of the spiritual sea realm. He was confident that he could suppress them with one hand. It's over, it's over. Wan Tingting, Xiao Xian, and the others thought that the fatty was bragging and lamented in their hearts. They were definitely done for today. They even decided that they would rather die than fall into the hands of the two old men. Fat pig, you want to be a hero and save the beauty? Look at yourself first. I'll chop you up now. An old man revealed a cold smile. His figure moved as fast as lightning, and a claw grabbed at the fatty. Fast, too fast. Moreover, an enormous pressure spread out and pressed down on Wan Tingting and the others. They felt as if an incomparably heavy mountain was pressing down on them, and they couldn't even resist. The difference between a normal peak king warrior and a peak first layer spiritual ocean realm expert was too great. A single slap could kill a large number of them. Wan Tingting and the other two felt despair in their hearts. They realized that they might not even be able to commit suicide in the hands of the two elders. But in the next moment, their eyes suddenly widened. The fatty stretched out his hand and accurately grabbed the old man's wrist. Kacha! In the next moment, the sound of bones breaking came from the old man's wrist, followed by the old man's shrill scream. Damn fat pig, let go of me! The old man roared as green true yuan emanated from his body. His cultivation erupted as his other palm struck towards Kong Jin. Bang! Kong Jin was very direct. He raised his arm and swung it. The old man's body was like a broken sack. He was heavily thrown to the ground. With a loud bang, the ground shook. The old man's body crashed into the ground, creating a big pit. His mental state and Jin Yuan dissipated without a trace. Bang! Kong Jin swung his arm again. The old man created another big pit in the ground. Even the secret room rumbled and shook. The old man was lying in the big pit, vomiting blood continuously. His body was like a pile of mud. His eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. With his peak first layer spiritual ocean realm cultivation, he couldn't resist Kong Jin's hands. Kong Jin said he would suppress him with one hand, so he did it with one hand. Monster, this is a monster. The old man roared in his heart. Ruan Tingting, Xiao Xian, and Shi Kai were already petrified. They widened their eyes and looked at the tall and straight Kong Jin, dumbfounded. This was especially true for Ruan Tingting. She had known Kong Jin for some time, but she had never seen him fight before. She had never dreamed that this gluttonous and lazy fatty would be so terrifying. A peak first-layer spiritual ocean realm expert was as weak as a baby in Kong Jin's hands. This was unbelievable. It was like a dream. Clown, how dare you speak rudely to Tingting? You're courting death. Kong Jin tried his best to straighten his chest and make himself look as majestic as possible. TSK, you really know how to pretend. Xie Nianqing despised him. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. Go quickly. Bring the Miao family's experts and kill this fatty. I want them to die, all of them. The mud-like old man roared. The old man at the entrance of the passage suddenly reacted and turned to run. But the moment he turned, he suddenly saw a figure standing at the entrance of the passage, looking at him with a faint smile. It was Lu Ming, but he didn't know when Lu Ming appeared there. Boy, get out of my way. He had no time to think. With a roar, he charged toward Lu Ming. The terrifying true essence and concept condensed into a sharp blade and slashed at Lu Ming. He wanted to kill Lu Ming as quickly as possible and then escape. He couldn't let that fatty catch up. That fatty was too terrifying. He secretly swore in his heart that as long as he escaped, he would bring the Miao family's experts to kill that fatty and flatten the Sea Cloud sect. Then, he saw Lu Ming stretched out a palm and slapped him. Bang! The saber gleam that he unleashed with all his might fell like tofu on Lu Ming's palm. Wherever Lu Ming's palm passed by, all his attacks and defenses vanished. Thereafter, Lu Ming's palm slapped him hard on the face. Paw! With a crisp sound, the old man felt the world was spinning. His body flew far away and fell in front of Kong Jin. Blood spurted from his mouth and he looked confused. The old man, who looked like a pile of mud, was also dumbfounded. Ruan Tingting, Xiao Xian, Shi Kai, and the rest widened their eyes so much that their eyeballs almost popped out. They looked at Lu Ming in a daze and then at the old man who had been slapped until he was dizzy. They rubbed their eyes hard, thinking that they were dreaming. Lu Ming. Ruan Tingting and others couldn't speak fluently. They didn't know what to say at all. First, it was Kong Jin, then Lu Ming. In their hands, two powerful figures at the peak of the first tier of the spiritual sea realm were simply trash and toys. They couldn't resist at all. Birds of a feather flocked together. They thought of this sentence. That fatty was so strong. How could Lu Ming be weak? And Xie Nianqing. They looked at Xie Nianqing, who still had a look of disdain on his face, and were speechless. Who on earth were these people? Were they at the top of the list of top 1,000 talents? Lu Ming, you're fighting with me again. Kong Jin glanced at Lu Ming unhappily. I'm afraid that he'll run away. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Humph, he can't run away with me. It'll be a matter of minutes to deal with these two trash. Okay, Tingting, how should we deal with them now? Kong Jin looked at Ruan Tingting. Kill them, we must kill them. Otherwise, the Miao family won't let us go when they go back. Chapter 762. No, please, spare us. When we go back, we promise we won't say a word. Let's just forget about what happened today. Yes, let's forget about it. The two Miao family elders cried out in a hurry. Unfortunately, I don't believe you. Ruan Tingting's face was cold, and bright sword light poured out. The two pitiful Miao family elders had strength, but were scattered by Lu Ming and Kong Jin's attacks. They had no power to resist and were pierced through by the sword light. Taking a deep breath, Ruan Tingting's gaze shifted from Lu Ming to Kong Jin. She said, Fatty, You've had a hard time keeping it from me. You're obviously so powerful, but you didn't tell me. Ting, you didn't ask me, did you? Kong Jin laughed. This time, it's all thanks to you. Otherwise, we'd be in danger. How about this, all the storage rings here belong to you. We don't want anything. Xiao Xian said. That's how it should be. Ruan Tingting nodded. Although Shi Kai was a little unwilling, this time it was all thanks to Lu Ming and Kong Jin, so he didn't have the face to ask for a share. Everyone found this place together, so let's divide it equally. Lu Ming stepped forward and devoured the essence and blood of the two elders without anyone noticing. Two martial artists in the first layer of the spiritual sea realm, and Lu Ming estimated that the skeleton was at most in the third layer of the spiritual sea realm when it was alive. With Lu Ming's current realm, he wasn't too tempted, so he proposed to divide it equally. Xiao Xian, Shi Kai, and the others were local bullies. Although their cultivation wasn't strong, it might be useful to have a good relationship with them. And, Lu Ming is right. Let's divide it equally. You guys count it. Kong Jin inhaled with his Jin Yuan, sucking the storage rings into his hand and handing them to Ruan Tingting. Thank you, Brother Kong and Brother Lu. Shi Kai expressed his gratitude immediately, his face showing joy. Thus, Ruan Tingting and Xiao Xian didn't refuse and began to count. In the end, the 6 of them divided it equally. Since the mission is complete, let's go back first. Thank you for your help this time. In 2 days, I'll treat you to a good meal. Ruan Tingting smiled. Xiao Xian and Shi Kai were also grinning from ear to ear. This time around, they had struck gold. They exited the underground secret chamber, and nothing happened along the way. Not long after, they returned to Juhao City. Xiao Xian and Shi Kai were the first to leave, returning to their respective factions. Lu Ming, Ruan Tingting, and the others returned to the courtyard. After returning to the courtyard, Ruan Tingting left first. She had to turn in the Black Ghost Scorpion's mission. Ruan Tingting went to the mission hall to submit her mission. Just as she was about to go back, she was blocked by a figure. Yi Qing, is something the matter? Ruan Tingting's eyes darkened as she looked at the figure in front of her. The person standing in front of her was a woman. Her appearance was not bad, but her somewhat unkind eyes destroyed her beauty. Ruan Tingting, my father is looking for you. Let's go to the meeting hall. Yi Qing said coldly. Sect Master is looking for me? Ruan Tingting frowned. Yi Qing's father was the Wind Sword Sect's Sect Master. Regardless of talent or beauty, Ruan Tingting was above Yi Qing. In the past, Yi Qing had always been jealous of Ruan Tingting and would find trouble with her at the slightest provocation. Their relationship was very bad. Let's go. Yi Qing turned and walked out. The sneer at the corner of her mouth was even thicker. There was even a faint smug smile. Ruan Tingting frowned. She had a bad premonition, but since the sect master was looking for her, she had no choice but to go. Not long after, Ruan Tingting and Yi Qing arrived at the Wind Sword Sect's meeting hall. In the meeting hall, not only was the Wind Sword Sect's sect master Yi Fa there, but there were also a few elders with real power. They were all experts above the Spirit Sea realm. Su Luo. Ruan Tingting saw Su Luo behind an elder. Su Luo's father was an elder. At this moment, Su Luo looked at her with a somewhat cold gaze. For some reason, Ruan Tingting had a bad premonition in her heart. Disciple greets sect master and elders. Ruan Tingting bowed and greeted. Rise! Wind Sword Sect's sect master Yi Fa smiled faintly. Thank you, Palace Master, said Ruan Tingting. Yes, Tingting, your Ruan clan has been blessed by the Wind Sword Sect for generations, and the Wind Sword Sect has fostered you wholeheartedly as well. Now, there's a matter that concerns the rise and fall of the Wind Sword Sect that requires your help. You won't refuse, right? Said Yi Fa. Ruan Tingting's heart jerked. She knew they were about to get to the point, and she said, Please speak, Sect Master. So long as it's within Tingting's ability, I'll surely do my best. Tingting, you ought to know of the 100 Supremacy Mountain, right? Said Yi Fa. 100 Supremacy Mountain? Could it be that it's already opened? Ruan Tingting was shocked. The 100 Supremacy Mountain is an extremely profound paradise of cultivation. According to legend, there are imprints and even inheritances left behind by over 100 domain enlightened spirit gods within the 100 Supremacy Mountain. Normally, it isn't opened at all, and it's only opened before the battle of karmic luck. The geniuses of those great clans are naturally able to enter at will, but small powers like us have a fixed quota. This time, there are a total of 36 powers in the surroundings of Luxury Gathering City, Star Gathering City, and Wind Gathering City, and they only have a total of 30 quotas. Moreover, only the 6 strongest powers have the qualifications to be allocated a quota. So, 10 days from now, the 36 powers will dispatch their strongest experts to compete for the top 6 positions. Yi Fa explained. Sect Master, this sort of competition will definitely be fought by Sea Spirit Realm experts, right? My cultivation is weak, so how could I be of any help? Ruan Tingting spoke with bewilderment. Yes, it'll naturally be Sea Spirit Realm experts. The ancestor of my Windsward sect will emerge from his closed-door cultivation as well. However, with the strength of my Windsward sect, it's utterly impossible to enter the top 6. We have to seek help from outside. Only in this way would we be able to enter the top 6. We absolutely can't miss this opportunity. At that time, a few geniuses of my Windsward sect will be able to enter, and only then will we be able to rise abruptly in the future. Said Yi Fa. Ruan Tingting still didn't speak. She still didn't know what she needed to do. Tingting, to tell you the truth, the 2 seniors of Clear River Mountain have taken a liking to you. So long as you agree to marry them, they'll lend a hand to my Windsward sect. In that way, it'll be very likely for my Windsward sect to seize the top 6 positions. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Fa looked at Ruan Tingting with a bright gaze. Rumble. It was as if thunderclaps had resounded in Ruan Tingting's mind. After speaking for so long, Yi Fa's true objective was finally exposed. He actually wanted her to marry the 2 weirdos of Clear River Mountain. The 2 weirdos of Clear River were 2 old monsters that had lived for over 1,000 years. They had a vicious and eccentric temperament and were well known in the vicinity of Gathering Luxury City. Yi Fa actually wanted to use her as a condition to marry the 2 old monsters in exchange for their help. Yes, to marry the 2 old monsters at the same time. Ruan Tingting never imagined that there would be such a thing. I don't agree. Ruan Tingting clenched her fists tightly and took a deep breath. She looked at Yi Fa with a determined gaze and said. Yi Fa frowned, and the other elders frowned as well. Tingting, you have to know how important this opportunity is to the Windsward sect. The 2 seniors of Clear River Mountain, one of them is at the 4th layer of the spiritual sea spirit realm, while the other is at the peak of the 3rd layer. With their help, we'll definitely be able to seize a spot in the top 6. Even if we're in 6th place, we'll still have 3 spots. This concerns the rise and fall of the Windsward sect. Chapter 763. No, I don't agree. Sect Master, if you want to ask for help, you can ask others. Why must you ask the 2 monsters of Clear River? Ruan Tingting said. Ask others? Then what kind of experts can you invite? Tell me. Yi Fa sneered. I have a few friends with extremely high cultivation and powerful battle prowess. You can ask them to come help us. Ruan Tingting thought of Lu Ming, Kong Jin, and Xian Yanqing. Ha ha ha, Ruan Tingting, you're not talking about those brats living in your side courtyard, are you? On the side, Su Luo laughed loudly. That's right, it's them. Ruan Tingting gritted her teeth and said. Kong Jin and Lu Ming could easily crush the 2 Miao family elders who were at the peak of the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean realm. Their battle prowess was definitely above the 2nd layer of the spiritual ocean realm. Ruan Tingting thought that if she begged them, perhaps Kong Jin and the others would agree. Hee hee, laughable. What can those brats help us with? Drag us down? But that chick looks pretty good, as beautiful as a fairy. Don't tell me you want her to use a honey trap. Huh. Su Luo laughed loudly. Humph, she just wants to find a random reason to refuse. She completely disregards the sect and only cares about herself. Yi Qing said coldly. Alright, the two seniors of Clear River Mountain are at the peak of the fourth and third layer of the spiritual ocean realm. Where can we find such battle prowess? Finding them is the safest choice. This matter is settled. Yi Fa said. No, I don't agree. Sect Master, it's not like you don't know what kind of people the two monsters of Clear River are. They are two old monsters. Who knows how many innocent girls have died in their hands? Ruan Tingting shook her head. Nonsense, how could the two seniors of Clear River Mountain be that kind of people? You have to agree to this matter. Yi Fa's face darkened as he scolded. That's right, Ruan Tingting. Those are two powerful figures in the spiritual ocean realm. Being able to marry them is your fortune. This is also the benefit that the sect fought for you. It's fine if you don't thank them, but you dare to refuse? Yi Qing's eyes revealed a delighted light as she said coldly. Since it's so good, then why don't you marry them? Since it's for the sect, then marry them. Ruan Tingting stared at Yi Qing and shouted. Nonsense. The two seniors from Qinghe Mountain have their eyes on you. Alright, this matter is settled. Go back and pack up. In 2 days, follow me to Qinghe Mountain. Yi Fa slammed the table and scolded, directly making a decision. No, I won't marry. I'd rather die than marry, unless you kill me and carry my corpse there. Ruan Tingting gritted her teeth. Her eyes were red as she looked at Yi Fa with determination. How dare you? Evil creature. What an ingrate. The other elders shouted angrily and glared at Ruan Tingting. Ha ha ha. Ruan Tingting suddenly laughed. At this moment, her heart was as cold as ice. She was completely disappointed in this sect. For generations, my Ruan family has given our all to the Wind Sword sect. We've fought bloody battles and made countless contributions. My elder brother died in battle for the sect. My Ruan family doesn't owe the sect anything. You don't have to use any favors to suppress me. Ruan Tingting completely exploded. She stood up straight and glanced at Yi Fa and the other elders. Her eyes were filled with disappointment. You don't have to give any high-sounding reasons. No matter what you say, it's all for the sake of the sect. You're just doing it for your own selfish reasons. You want to send your descendants, these pieces of trash, into the 100 Supremes Mountain. Are their talents the strongest in the Wind Sword sect? Ruan Tingting pointed at Yi Qing and Su Luo. Bitch, what did you say? Who are you calling trash? Yi Qing screamed. Isn't it? How many resources did the sect spend on you? If these resources were used on me, I would have broken through to the Sea of Soul realm long ago. As for you, you just broke through to the Peak King realm. If you're not trash, what are you? Ruan Tingting berated loudly. Bitch, you're talking nonsense. I want you dead. Yi Qing's voice was sharp and her face was distorted. Ruan Tingting had hit her sore spot. If the quota this time is really given to those talented disciples, I can agree. But if it's given to these trash, I won't agree. Ruan Tingting said. The matter of the quota is arranged by the sect. It's not up to you to interfere. Yi Fa's face was extremely cold as he said in a deep voice. Ruan Tingting shook her head and smiled bitterly. Her talent was definitely one of the best in the Wind Sword sect. But normally, she was suppressed everywhere. Any good resources would be given to Yi Qing, Su Luo, and the others first because they had backing. As for her, most of her resources were obtained through her own missions. She wouldn't say anything about this. Birth was different, and fate was like this. She could only rely on herself. But now, Yi Fa and the others were actually so shameless. They wanted to sacrifice her in exchange for Yi Qing and the others' opportunity. She would never agree. I'll say it again. Kill me or I won't agree to this. Wan Tingting's reply was resolute and decisive. Wan Tingting, you better think carefully. You have to know that your parents are still in the sect. You better think about their safety. Yi Fa said in a deep voice. Wan Tingting's delicate body trembled violently. Her face was pale without a trace of blood. Yi Fa actually used her parents to threaten her. Was this something a sect master would do? Despicable. Shameless. Yi Fa, you guys are despicable and shameless. Wan Tingting yelled. Bastard! How dare you? Wan Tingting, follow me to Qinghe Mountain in 2 days. Otherwise, you will have to collect your parents' corpses. Moreover, you still have to go. Yi Fa stood up and emitted a powerful aura that pressed down on Wan Tingting. Wan Tingting's body trembled as a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Her eyes were filled with despair. She had no choice. Her parents' lives were in the hands of the Wind Sword sect. She could only compromise. Hee, Wan Tingting, aren't you pretty? Congratulations to you for marrying 2 almighties. Yi Qing let out a gloating laugh. Ha, Wan Tingting, when I enter the 100 Supremes Mountain in the future and obtain a great opportunity to become a peerless expert, I will definitely not forget your kindness. Su Luo laughed heartily and was extremely carefree. With trash like you guys, you will never achieve anything great. Wan Tingting looked at them coldly before turning around and leaving the conference hall. Humph, bitch, just you wait. Yi Qing snorted coldly. Wan Tingting walked out of the conference hall in a daze. She only felt despair in her heart. The road ahead was long, but she couldn't see any hope. She flew out of the Wind Sword sect in a daze and disappeared into the distance. She only returned to her courtyard in the evening. Tingting, what's wrong? Why are your eyes red? Did someone bully you? Kong Jin asked hurriedly after seeing Wan Tingting. I'm fine. Hurry up and move out of my courtyard now and leave the Wind Sword sect. Wan Tingting said coldly. Ah. You want to chase us away? Why? Kong Jin was a little stunned. Chapter 764. Why do you have so many questions? I hate you, and I don't welcome you now. Leave, I don't want to see you. Wan Tingting's face was cold as she ordered them to leave. Tingting, what's the matter? You were fine before, what happened to you? Kong Jin asked. I told you to leave, didn't you hear me? You're not welcome here. Leave, are you trying to bully me with your high cultivation? I'm not afraid. Wan Tingting shouted stubbornly. Tingting, what's the matter? Tell us, I'll help you solve it. Kong Jin shouted. Wan Tingting gritted her teeth and almost wanted to say it, but she remembered that there was a 3rd-level Spirit Sea Realm Old Ancestor and a few 2nd-level Spirit Sea Realm experts in the Wind Sword sect. If she told Kong Jin and the rest, they would be implicated. She gritted her teeth and didn't say anything, only wanting to chase Kong Jin and the rest away. Fatty, let's go first. Lu Ming walked over, pulled Kong Jin, and walked out. But... Tingting. Kong Jin wanted to say more. Go, let's leave first. Lu Ming pulled Fatty and walked out. Xian Yanqing followed beside Lu Ming. Watching Lu Ming and the rest leave, Wan Tingting couldn't hold back her tears any longer and streamed down. Lu Ming pulled Kong Jin out of the Wind Sword sect's mountain gate. Lu Ming, why did you pull me out? Tingting definitely has something to do with her. Kong Jin said. Do you think I can't tell? Lu Ming said. If you can tell, why did you still bring me out? There must be an inside story. She doesn't want to say it, perhaps she's afraid of implicating us. We can only come out first and think of a solution. Lu Ming frowned. What solution do you have? Kong Jin asked. Now, we have to know what happened first and then solve it. Let's go to Juhao City first. Didn't we leave Miss Xiao Xian's voice transmission jade talisman? She's so close to Tingting, maybe she knows something. Let's ask her first. Lu Ming said. Maybe it's because of the Wind Sword sect, or maybe it's because of her family. I saw her crying. Xian Yanqing said. Go to Juhao City first, I'll send a voice transmission to Miss Xiao Xian. Lu Ming took out a voice transmission jade talisman. At this moment, his gaze flickered. Miss Xiao Xian sent me a message first, asking us to gather at Gathering Luxury City. Lu Ming said. Have. T. To. It. Xiao Xian told them everything she knew. Despicable, and shameless Wind Sword sect. What sect master? What elders? They're shameless to the extreme. Kong Jin was enraged after hearing that. He was like a mad beast. This sect shouldn't exist in this world. Xian Yanqing's voice was also incomparably cold. Miss Xiao Xian, you're guessing that Tingting will take the risk to save her parents? Lu Ming asked. Given Tingting's character, it's very likely. Xiao Xian said. Oh no, if you can guess it, how can the Wind Sword sect not guess it? If Tingting goes, she'll be in danger. Let's hurry back to the Wind Sword sect. Lu Ming's face changed. When Xiao Xian found Lu Ming and the rest, Ruan Tingting had already started to move in the Wind Sword sect. She changed into a black robe and turned into a black phantom in the night, flying towards the depths of the Wind Sword sect. After passing through many pavilions and palaces, Ruan Tingting appeared in a courtyard. Who's there? When Ruan Tingting appeared, a voice came from one of the rooms. Immediately after, two silhouettes appeared in the courtyard of the courtyard. It was a middle-aged couple. Tingting, it's you. Why are you here in the middle of the night? The middle-aged man was stunned when he saw Tingting. Father, mother, follow me. Let's leave this place and leave the Wind Sword sect. Ruan Tingting's eyes were red. Tingting, what happened? The middle-aged couple was even more confused. Father, mother, they want me to marry the Qinghe mountain monsters and even use you to threaten me. Ruan Tingting then briefly explained what had happened. What? How did this happen? Our Ruan family has done everything we can for the Wind Sword sect. How could they do this to you? No, I must ask the sect master. The middle-aged man said angrily. Father, it's useless. Their attitude is very firm. To them, it's only right to use my happiness to fulfill their children. Let's go. Ruan Tingting said. This was also the reason why she came personally and didn't send a message to her parents. She was afraid that her father would look for Yi Fa directly after receiving the news. By then, they wouldn't be able to leave even if they wanted to. Yeah, listen to Tingting. There's no need to stay in such a sect anymore. Ruan Tingting's mother said. Alright, let's go. Ruan Tingting's father clenched his teeth. The three of them carefully left the courtyard and headed out of the sect. After bypassing the many courtyards and exiting the core area of the Wind Sword sect, the terrain became more spacious. However, the three of them stopped. In front, Yi Qing and Su Luo stood in front with a cold smile. Behind them was a group of people. Ruan Tingting, how dare you bring your parents to betray the Wind Sword sect and disregard the prosperity of the Wind Sword sect? This is a heinous crime. Yi Qing had a smug smile on her face as she sneered. Yi Qing, admit that you're despicable and shameless. Don't use those high-sounding reasons to suppress me. You're just doing it for yourself. Even if I die, I won't let you have your way. Ruan Tingting's face was very pale. She knew that she wouldn't be able to leave today. Impudent, you bitch. Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to me like that? Men, take those two old men down and cripple their cultivation. I'll see if that bitch still obeys. Yi Qing screamed. Immediately, a few figures walked out from behind her. Charge out. Wan Tingting's father yelled. His aura burst out as he charged out. Wan Tingting's father was also a peak-tier king. At the same time, Wan Tingting and her mother also charged out. Today, they would only have a chance if they killed their way out. Wan Tingting's mother was a 9th-level martial king. Together with Wan Tingting, the three of them instantly forced the two men back. You still dare to fight back? Attack together. Su Luo waved his hand. Immediately, the people behind them attacked. There were more than 10 of them. Among them, 3 were peak-tier kings while the rest were late-stage kings. Chapter 765. Wang. Right at this moment, a small dagger appeared in Wan Tingting's hand. The dagger danced in the air, shooting out cold rays of light. Poochie. A man's arm was sliced off as he screamed and retreated. 6th grade spirit weapon. How do you have a 6th grade spirit weapon? Damn it. Take them down. This 6th grade spirit weapon is mine. Yi Qing screamed as greed appeared in her eyes. Wan Tingting's spirit weapon was naturally obtained from the storage rings of the Sea of Soul Realm martial artists. Wan Tingting controlled the 6th grade spirit weapon, and her battle power was already suppressing the other peak kings. She was about to charge out. But right at this moment, sounds of air being torn apart could be heard from behind. At least a few dozen figures were flying over. 2 of them had auras as deep as the ocean. They were Sea of Soul Realm experts. The leader of the Wind Sword sect, Yi Fa, and Su Luo's father, Su Tingshan. Wan Tingting's family revealed looks of despair. Not only did your family betray the sect, but you also injured your fellow sect members. Take them all down. Yi Fa ordered. More than a dozen figures flew out from behind Yi Fa. More than half of them were peak kings. Tingting, run. I'll stall them. Wan Tingting's father roared as he charged toward the dozen figures. Father. Wan Tingting yelled. Run, run. Tingting, you can't marry the Clear River monsters. Run. Wan Tingting's father roared as his aura turned berserk. Not good, he's going to self-destruct. Someone exclaimed. You're courting death. At this moment, Su Tingshan stepped out and pressed down with his palm. A mountain-like palm print smashed onto Wan Tingting's father's body. Poochie. Wan Tingting's father coughed out large mouthfuls of blood as cracking sounds came from his body. Father, don't. Wan Tingting yelled. Run, run. Wan Tingting's father ignored his injuries and charged over. Wan Zhen, since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Su Tingshan stepped out and pointed out with his finger. A terrifying finger energy shot toward Wan Tingting's father like a sharp sword. Poochie. The finger energy pierced through Wan Zhen's chest and pierced through his heart. Quick, let's go. Wan Zhen spat out his last sentence. His life force was extinguished, and he fell to the ground. No, no, no. Wan Tingting's eyes were red as she screamed crazily. Brother Zhen. Wan Tingting's mother also shouted and rushed towards Wan Zhen's body. Without your parents, you still have to go to Qinghe Mountain. I'll kill your parents now and seal your cultivation. 2 days later, I'll send you to Qinghe Mountain. Su Tingshan strode forward and pointed his finger again. Puff! Wan Tingting's mother had just caught Wan Zhen's body when she was pierced by the finger force and fell to the ground. She turned her head to look at Wan Tingting one last time before her life force dissipated. Father, mother, ah! I want all of you dead. Wan Tingting shouted crazily. Her eyes were filled with killing intent. She rushed towards Su Tingshan crazily. The aura on her body was extremely violent. You want to self-destruct in front of me? How is that possible? Su Tingshan snorted and threw out a palm strike. Wan Tingting's body shook violently as she coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. Her body was sent flying far away. Her cultivation had already been sealed by Su Tingshan's true essence. A burly man flew forward and caught Ruan Tingting. Yi Fa had been watching coldly from the beginning to the end. Kill me. You'd better kill me. Otherwise, I swear that I'll definitely kill all of you. I'll definitely destroy the Wind Sword sect and avenge my parents. Ruan Tingting's eyes were filled with hatred. Just you? Hee, if you can last 3 months under the hands of the Qinghe twin monsters, consider it my loss. Yi Qing sneered coldly. Ruan Tingting, you only have yourself to blame for all of this. If you had agreed obediently, why would all of this happen? All of this was caused by you. Su Luo sneered. All right, take her away and lock her up. Yi Fa waved his hand. Whoever dares to touch Tingting, I'll kill him. Right at this moment, an earth-shattering roar sounded. A terrifying killing intent spread from outside the Wind Sword sect as if a peerless beast had awakened. 4 figures instantly appeared in the area. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Kong Jin, and Xiao Xian had finally arrived. Let go of your filthy hands. Kong Jin exuded a terrifying aura. The large axe in his hand was covered in blood. A Wind Sword sect disciple had tried to stop him and was directly chopped down by his axe. At this moment, the aura of savagery on his body was extremely dense. His figure moved and appeared in front of the burly man who had grabbed Ruan Tingting. That burly man was shocked and was about to retreat, but Kong Jin's large hand reached out and grabbed his neck. With a crack, that burly man whose cultivation had reached the peak-tier king realm had his neck broken. Kong Jin took the opportunity to pull Ruan Tingting into his embrace. Tingting, are you alright? Kong Jin looked worriedly at Ruan Tingting. Father, mother. Ruan Tingting's tears kept falling as she stared blankly at the corpses of her parents. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's aura was like a mountain. He took a large step forward and the world rumbled. He didn't hide his cold killing intent at all. A bunch of trash. Today, you will all die. Lu Ming's voice was cold and emotionless. It's you little bastards. You actually dared to barge into the Wind Sword sect. Speak. Did you collude with that bitch Ruan Tingting and plot against my Wind Sword sect? Su Luo pointed at Lu Ming and yelled. Kill! Lu Ming hollered and stretched out his palm to clench the air. Su Luo instantly felt himself being bound by a force as his body flew toward Lu Ming. Ah! Father, save me! Su Luo was scared and screamed in terror. Kid, let go of my son! Su Tingshan stepped forward, wanting to save him. Boom! Lu Ming punched out with his other hand, and a fist radiance flew out and sent Su Tingshan flying back. In the next moment, Su Luo landed in Lu Ming's hands and was held by Lu Ming by the throat. Speak! Who killed the 2 of them? Lu Ming pointed at the corpses of Ruan Tingting's parents and asked Su Luo. Kid, how dare you capture me? Let me down. You're courting death. Do you know that? Su Luo yelled. Poof! A force flew out and chopped off one of Su Luo's arms. Su Luo instantly let out a hysterical scream. Speak! The cold killing intent on Lu Ming's body became even more intense. Ah! I'll speak. I'll speak. My father killed them. It's my father. It has nothing to do with me. Su Luo screamed and betrayed Su Tingshan. Su Tingshan's face was ugly as he roared, Kid, let go of my son. Otherwise, I guarantee that you won't be able to walk out of the Wind Sword sect. At this moment, another 2 powerful auras descended. They were 2 extremely powerful elders of the Wind Sword sect. Is that so? I'd like to see how you're going to prevent me from walking out of the Wind Sword sect. Lu Ming sneered as a force burst forth from his palm. Bam! Su Luo exploded in Lu Ming's hand and turned into a bloody mist. Luo, Ah! Damn it! I want you to pay with your life. Chapter 766. Kill. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense. He strode forward and charged towards Su Tingshan. Sect leader, elders, let's attack together and kill this kid. Su Tingshan's expression changed as he shouted. He received Lu Ming's punch just now and was rather fearful of Lu Ming. Attack! The other two elders attacked. At the same time, Su Tingshan attacked as well. The three of them joined forces and charged towards Lu Ming. The two elders were at the peak of the first level of the spiritual sea realm, while Su Tingshan was at the late stage of the first level. Yi Fa didn't attack and stood by the side. When the three of them joined forces, their aura was grand and boundless. The momentum was extremely terrifying. However, Lu Ming didn't even blink. His expression was still cold as he stared at Su Tingshan. Just as the three's attacks were about to land on Lu Ming instantly threw out 3 punches. 3 screams. Su Tingshan and the other two spat out blood and flew far away. How could this be? The people of the Wind Sword sect were dumbfounded as they watched this scene in shock. This young man was actually so terrifying. With one move, he heavily injured 3 spiritual sea realm elders. This was too unbelievable. Today, no one can save you. Lu Ming walked towards Su Tingshan step by step. Su Tingshan's heart trembled and his face turned pale. He retreated frantically and shouted, sect leader, save me. Yi Fa's expression was ugly. Lu Ming injured 3 elders with one move. Even he couldn't do it. His cultivation was only at the early stage of the second level of the spiritual sea realm. Retreat, retreat. Quickly asked the Grand Elder to come out. Yi Fa roared and retreated with his people, not caring about Su Tingshan at all. Sect leader. Su Tingshan shouted in despair. What are you shouting for? Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in front of Su Tingshan, striking a palm towards Su Tingshan. Su Tingshan tried his best to resist, but it was useless. He was struck down by Lu Ming's palm and smashed into the mountain below the Wind Sword sect, creating a huge crater that was dozens of meters wide. Lu Ming's hand glowed as a long spear condensed from Jin Yuan appeared in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the long spear shot out like lightning towards Su Tingshan and pierced through his dantian. Boom! A rumbling sound echoed out from Su Tingshan's dantian region as his spiritual sea was pierced by Lu Ming and exploded. His spiritual sea was broken, and his cultivation was crippled. Su Tingshan let out a hysterical scream. The other people of the Wind Sword sect had pale faces. A Sea of Soul Realm Elder was as weak as a baby in Lu Ming's hands. Yi Fa's eyes flashed with humiliation, but he didn't dare to make a move. In his eyes, Lu Ming was simply unfathomable, giving him immense pressure. He had a feeling that if he made a move, he would end up like Su Tingshan. Therefore, he retreated. He had to wait for help. Yi Qing's face was also incomparably pale, but there was jealousy in her eyes. She was jealous of Ruan Tingting. Why did such a powerful young expert stand up for her while she didn't? You can't escape. Xian Yanqing's figure suddenly appeared not far from Yi Fa and pressed down with one hand. Boom! The Sky Demon force field enveloped Yi Fa and the others with an incomparably huge pressure. Some people directly screamed. Under the huge pressure, their bones broke and they coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. Even Yi Fa's face changed drastically. He had to use all the Jin Yuan in his body to resist. Charge! An elder who was injured by Lu Ming just now roared, wanting to break through the Sky Demon force field and rush out. But in the next moment, the other people of the Wind Sword sect widened their eyes in horror because they saw that the lower half of the elder's body rushed out, but the lower half was still in place. He was cut in half at the waist. When that elder saw this scene, he let out a miserable scream of fear. However, he did not die immediately. You'd better not move. Xian Yanqing said coldly. Yi Fa's face was pale. Who were these people? They were too horrifying. He felt that any one of them could easily kill him. Could it be that the friends that Wan Tingting asked to help the Wind Sword sect compete are these people? Yi Fa thought to himself. He had a feeling that perhaps he was wrong this time. But now that things had come to this, he could only bite the bullet and continue. Now, he could only hope that the Wind Sword sect's ancestor could rush over as soon as possible. The Wind Sword sect's ancestor was at the peak of the 3rd level of the spiritual sea realm and could definitely kill these brats. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the half-dead Su Tingshan, throwing him in front of Ruan Tingting. This person needed Ruan Tingting to kill. He stepped out and appeared in front of Yi Fa and the others. Today, all of you have to die. There's no need for the Wind Sword sect to remain in this world. The infinite dragon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and the spear light soared into the sky. Today, he was going to flatten the Wind Sword sect. Lu Ming. At this moment, a voice came from behind. It was Ruan Tingting's voice. At this moment, Ruan Tingting's sealed cultivation had already been released by Kong Jin. Her gaze was bone-chilling, revealing a bone-piercing murderous intent. She said, Lu Ming, don't kill them. I want to take revenge with my own hands. One day, I will flatten the Wind Sword sect with my own hands and take revenge for my parents. Lu Ming was slightly taken aback, then nodded. All right. Lu Ming understood that Wan Tingting had to take revenge with her own hands. This way, there wouldn't be an inner demon in her heart that would hinder her future cultivation. As for Su Tingshan, you have to die today. Wan Tingting looked at Su Tingshan. No, save me. Su Tingshan yelled. He was all too clear about Wan Tingting, Wan Zhen, and the others' backgrounds. They didn't have any powerful friends, so he killed without restraint. Never in his dreams would he have thought that he would provoke such terrifying fiends. Now, he was extremely regretful. Pucci. Wan Tingting's sword light pierced through Su Tingshan's heart, and the sword aura crushed his heart into pieces. Su Tingshan widened his eyes and let out a cry of indignation before he stopped breathing. Yi Fa, just you wait. I will destroy the Wind Sword sect with my own hands and make you pay the price for what you have done. Wan Tingting's gaze was incomparably cold, revealing a bone-piercing hatred and murderous intent. Seeing such a gaze, Yi Fa's heart couldn't help but tremble even though he had lived for many years. Wait a minute, I don't feel comfortable looking at this woman. Lu Ming looked at Yi Qing. He reached out and grabbed Yi Qing in his hand. No, don't kill me, don't kill me. Father, save me. Yi Qing screamed crazily, and her face was pale without a trace of blood. Let Qing go, or the Wind Sword sect won't rest until you are dead. Yi Fa roared, and his true yuan erupted wildly. Don't worry, I won't kill her. I will leave her life for Tingting. Lu Ming sneered and pointed a finger, directly crippling Yi Qing's cultivation. Didn't you want to get a slot to enter the 100 Supremes Mountain? Can you still enter after your cultivation is crippled? Get lost. Lu Ming flung Yi Qing out. Yi Qing screamed with a face full of despair. Her original goal was to sacrifice Ruan Tingting to fulfill her wish and let her enter the 100 Supremes Mountain. Perhaps she could obtain a great opportunity in the 100 Supremes Mountain and soar to the sky. She was full of hope. But now, there was no hope. She was in despair. Even if there was a slot, it was useless to her. Let's go.